I was really excited to finally be watching Kiss Me Kate. This has been on my to-watch list for such a long time, and having now watched it, I can confirm I did not like it, but I will say it has 7 out of 10 on IMDb. That's across 7,100 reviews and ratings. Not the largest pool of opinions, but still a very respectable rating. So I didn't care for it, and I will explain why, but it seems to be very well received. So my advice is actually, if you're considering watching it, just check it out, because you might like it more than I did. Maybe my hopes were too high. Maybe my expectations were too high. Maybe I should have expected something not as spectacular as what was in my head. I don't know why I thought it was going to be this amazing film. I just heard so many positive things about it. Maybe if I'd managed that a little bit better, I might have enjoyed it more, but I was kind of disappointed. This is a musical film from 1953. It's directed by George Sidney. It's written by Dorothy Kingsley, based on Kiss Me Kate by Bella and Samuel Spivak. I apologise if I've mispronounced that. And we have a cast including Kathryn Grayson and Howard Keel. I love musicals. I love musicals from the 50s in particular. There are so many amazing ones. But this one, I didn't care for the narrative. That's purely personal preference. I'll talk about that in a moment. But I did find that it just wasn't that exciting. I didn't love the musical numbers. Visually, it wasn't that appealing. Often musicals from the 50s are very vibrant and brightly coloured and really eye-catching. And it's not ugly, but there wasn't really anything about it visually that appealed to me. The choreography is fine, but nothing that blew me away. Again, I'm comparing it with other musicals from around the time, which may or may not be fair. So the story is about a couple, and they are actually a former couple, ex-husband and ex-wife, and they are actually in a musical production of The Taming of the Shrew. And some gangsters are now going after them for some money. That's a very brief way of describing what it's about. That's the basic premise. And a film about a musical production, I love. The whole gangsters going after them, I do not care for. I could not care less. So I guess the narrative for me could have gone either way. And unfortunately, it very heavily lent towards me not enjoying it. But as I said, the narrative is down to personal preference. It flows well, the pacing's fine, everything makes sense within the context of the story. The narrative itself is not bad, it's just not to my personal tastes. However, I do think the musical aspect, the songs, the choreography, are all just, I'd say, pretty average. Now, being average is not the worst thing in the world. Not every film can be spectacular. Not every musical can be the most mesmerising. But because I'd heard so many good things about this, I kind of expected something stronger, more memorable, more engaging, and I just didn't feel it. I just didn't care for the musical aspect of this at all, which is a shame because I really love musicals. Maybe one could argue because I am a big musicals fan, I've watched a lot, I know what I like. Everybody has different tastes when it comes to musicals, and I indeed have my own taste. And this didn't work well for me. So maybe it's kind of slightly on me with personal taste, but I still feel like it was just not the most memorable. It wasn't that exciting. I just don't think it worked very well as a musical. Yes, sure, there were musical numbers, and they are technically aspects of a musical. But for me, because I love musicals, they're often very memorable and exciting and so uplifting. And even if they're, a lot more somber performances, they still fill me with so much joy because I'm enjoying the experience. And I felt nothing. I was bored. I just didn't care for it. The performances are fine. The characters are well enough written. And as I said, the narrative works. There's nothing about the narrative that is badly done. It just didn't appeal to me personally. But the musical aspects I found to be really underwhelming. Maybe if I'd gone into it not expecting something amazing and just expecting an average film, then maybe the experience would have been better. Maybe it's partly on me for not managing those expectations. But at the same time, as I said, I'd heard a decent amount about it and it just didn't work. For me, it didn't work at all. Nothing specifically wrong with the narrative, but unfortunately I didn't think it was a good film. I didn't think it was an enjoyable experience. Do I recommend it? Despite all of that, yes, because it seems to be well received. And as I said, everybody has different musical tastes. So it might appeal to you more than it did to me. But unfortunately, I just didn't care for it. Kiss Me Kate just was a bit disappointing. And unfortunately, I really didn't enjoy it.